And it's good news at noon with Dick Baumbach.
Hi. Well, wait a minute. What's your name? Is your name Jeff?
My name is Jeff. I am Jeff. How you doing today, Dick?
I am doing absolutely incredibly great good.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. You know, let's get right into the show today. What do you? I've got this one story, and it's what do you get when you cross a Segway with a wheelchair? And I understand it's just brilliant.
Well, what happened is that it's called OGO, and there's people who created it. They realized, an engineer named Kevin Halsall, that if you put a Segway with a wheelchair, there would be people could move around without any problem of pushing the wheels or having somebody push them, and the thing has taken off. And he just won the National Innovators Award in New Zealand, and it looks like OGO technology is now going to be all over the world, and it will be a Segway with a wheelchair.
Wow. So will it be, it's going to be just two wheels, or is it going to be the four wheels?
It'll be four wheels, but the person will be able to move their body. And
oh, wow.
And
that's
they'll be
amazing.
Able to go, yeah, and they won't have to touch anything.
Did they say how long the Segway batteries last or anything like that?
It'll last 24 hours. And the thing is, the people, and the reason that Kevin did this is because he had a friend that was a quadriplegic, but
Wow.
he could move his head, and so now he can move all over the place.
Wow, that's brilliant. That's like what we talked about with the students at the UCF, where they created that hand for the kid.
Exactly.
It's crazy. So our next good news story is it's about a jilted bride with no groom, and she gives the homeless women's and children's kid big party. What's that all about?
Well, okay, Dana Olson's fiance decided he didn't want to get married, and she had set everything up for her wedding reception. And she said, I'm not going to cancel this. This happened at Mary's Place Shelter in the state of Washington, Seattle, Washington. And what she did is she treated 150 women and children to a grand night out, which would have been her wedding party.
Wow, that's amazing. So I take it the groom didn't show up. That's what happened.
The groom didn't. Well, the groom notified her 24 hours prior, sorry, we're not getting married. And she said, well, okay. But the thing is, rather than be negative about it, she turned around and helped 150 women and children.
That is amazing. And you know, I say a lot of times to my wife, I don't understand how these guys can do that to a woman. I just don't understand it. I mean, you've planned for months and months, and then you just like 24 hours. What is it, like a motel room? I'm not going to get it charged on my charge card.
Well, it's crazy, but to me, what Dana did is just she took a negative and made it a positive.
And she made it a positive. And you know what, Dick? That's what Talk Network Radio is all about. It's all about taking the negatives in life and making them positives and turning it into success.
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct.
So the next one is an interesting one because it's I wish they'd do it here, is gas prices slashed to 47 cents a gallon in Michigan.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that this actually happened a month and a half ago. And there was gas stations in a Michigan town called Houghton Lake, and they got into a match of fighting back and forth, and the one guy lowered his gas prices to 47 cents a gallon.
Holy smokes.
So I was going to drive out there, but...
You know, I remember back in the early 70s, I was working at Hess gas station in a place called Brandon, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, the oil embargo took place. And the gas, the one day it was like 15 cents and 25 cents. And the next day it was 75 cents and $1 or something like that. And I had to play like the policeman. I'm sorry, your license plate is not the odd day. We're only taking even people. And then when they get up there, they had these big cars that had 20-gallon tanks. I'm sorry, you can only have 10 gallons today. Oh, what an experience that was.
Well, and maybe we could relive that.
No, thank you. That was not a fun day. Fortunately, in my family, I probably shouldn't say this on the radio, but in my family, we had an odd plate and an even plate. So we'd go down whichever day it was, and whoever car needed the gas, we'd siphon the gas out and put it in the other car.
Well, I remember the same thing, and Diane, my wife, and I had 2 cars with an even plate, and that same thing happened to us up in, I believe it was either Nashville or upstate New York. The same thing happened.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And she would say, take the even numbered car.
Yeah. Back then, some of the people that might be listening might not remember this. Right after they did the oil embargo, they brought the speed limit to 55. Could you imagine driving right now on 95, the whole quarter at 55 miles an hour?
Oh, I thought that's what we were supposed to drive at.
It's unbelievable. And back then my family and I took my wife and kids out to Arizona, and we drove the whole way at 55 miles an hour.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it was, and we used to go back and forth to New Jersey every other month or so to see my wife's mom, and it would be just monotonous. 55 miles an hour. It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I must tell you that I had a meeting over in Orlando yesterday, and there was a gentleman that went past me, and I think he must have thought it was double 55.
110. You're right. On the one road that we have from this area to Orlando, I think they believe that that's an extended drag strip because it's a straight line all the way there.
Well, we won't say anything about that.
Yeah. So the next good news story that you have is a man with a heart of gold keeps a theater open so kids have something to do. Man, that's near and dear close to my heart.
Well, I mean, this is a gentleman. This was a theater called the Desert Historic Theater, and it was in Burns, Oregon. And Tiny Pedersen, he bought the movie house 13 years ago. And it was a 1940s movie house. And he bought it because he wanted kids to be able to see movies. They were going to tear it down. And the kids go there for free every single day.
Wow.
And he buys the movies and he shows them. And they said, well, why are you doing this, Tiny? He said, because I wish somebody had done it for me back in the 40s.
I remember when I was, I think I was like 11 years old, maybe 10 years old. I had lied about my age, and I had a newspaper route. And back then, you had to ride your bicycle, and you had the bag on the front, and you'd throw the papers. And I was doing the New York Daily News, I think it was. And I would save every single penny that I got from that to go to the movies. And the movies was like 10 or 15 cents, Right. And so I could go and watch like 3 or 4 movies. It was great. Exactly. It was like you'd spend the whole Saturday. I didn't have to throw the papers that day. I'd go and I'd spend the whole day at the movies.
Well, and again, this gentleman remembers that, but he wants to pass it on. And he has got the money and the wealth, and he has kept it open. And they are now watching Star Wars movies, and it's no big thing. And that's what I think the whole good news thing is, people making positive out of negative things. Because had Tiny not done this, there'd be no theater there.
Yeah, and who knows what the kids might have been doing.
Exactly.
So what do you got coming up in some of the future shows?
Some crazy stuff. The next one, we have about a big-hearted little boy who gives up his birthday gifts to help animals in an animal
Well,
shelter.
don't give too much away on
I
this
won't.
one.
I won't.
We want people to come back.
No.
We really want them to come back. So that's I think I've seen that one on the news.
Yeah, and again, what we're finding now is, because I think we started something, is the news is realizing that people want to hear at least one good thing at night.
I'm telling you, Dick, the last two that we've done have had more listens than any other program or programming on TNR so far.
Well, and I think it's because people said, and like we had one lady wrote and said, thank God there's good news being talked about.
Yeah, we just got that in, and wasn't that amazing? She is so appreciative of this show that she took time to send us a comment and said, thank you so much for finally some good news.
Exactly. And the thing is, what hit me when I created the idea was, and because I was a former journalist and did a lot of negative reporting on stuff, is that people are tired of that.
They really are. They really are.
And so that's why I do it.
I mean, last night, if you watched the news, it was just bad story after bad story, and not just about politics. It's like, this town is being blown down. This town is being blown down. This one has all their windows knocked out. This one here burned down. It's like you just get burned out from listening to that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And like my wife and I, Diane and I listen to NBC Nightly News. The reason we listen for Lester Holt's last story.
The good news story.
Good news story.
And you know what? After you said that last week, I watch ABC, and the last story is a good news story on ABC now. And they just, I think it was just in the last several months that they started doing that.
Exactly.
That's crazy. Well, we're at the end of today's show. I hope you enjoyed this. Please tune in again next week at this time to hear Good News at Noon with Dick Baumbach. Thanks a lot. Take care. Have a safe week.
Have a good week, Dick.
Yep. God bless. Which one you want?